Hello, everyone. This is Robert Landau, and I would like to welcome you back to another episode of the 5-Minute Life Changer podcast, where 5 minutes is all the motivation you need to choose to change your life for the better. Interesting episode, this episode. I call it How to Be Okay with Being Alone. I don't know about you, but I've had a lot of personal experience concerning this topic, and I think it's actually a very significant and important part of life and being here. Sometimes in life we are alone. And the interesting thing is, we can feel alone in the midst of a crowd of 500 people. Or we can be alone, being that we are the only one around. Here's what I want you to consider. When you feel all alone, is it necessarily a bad thing? I think initially we choose to think that it is a bad thing. We're human beings. We're meant to be with other people. We're meant to be in social situations. In society, there's such a negative stigma about being alone. Example. During my cruise directing days, one cruise on this beautiful new ship was dedicated to couples. That was kind of the theme. And Valentine's Day occurred during this 10-day cruise. So the cruise line decided, let's just try a themed cruise having to do with love, having to do with togetherness, having to do with couples that are in love. And it was a wonderful cruise, and as usual, I would stand at the gangway to welcome all the passengers on the first day of the cruise during embarkation. And all these wonderful, happy couples who seemed to be so much in love were coming up the gangway, and I was welcoming them, and they were so happy to be here and looking forward to a wonderful Caribbean cruise. And when 3/4 of the passengers were on board, I was still at the gangway, and off one of the buses from the airport, I see this lady, this beautiful lady, probably in her 40s, maybe early 50s, get off the bus, and I'm thinking, she's alone. Unless her husband or partner is somewhere getting off the bus still. So everybody on that bus came up the gangway. She was the last one to come up the gangway, and she was, it seemed to me, to be single. So I said, hello, I'm Robert Landau, your cruise director. Welcome aboard. And your name is? And she said, oh, hello, my name is Nancy. And I said, well, wonderful, Nancy. Welcome aboard. If you keep moving forward, one of our stewards will take you to your stateroom. Have a wonderful cruise, Nancy, and I'm sure I'll see you around. And I did see her around. And she was single. And she seemed to be so happy. So one night, I decided to have a little conversation with her and ask her how was it that she was single, alone, on a cruise that was dedicated to partnership, to couples. And so this is how the conversation went. I greeted her. It was just before a show that I was going to see, and she was at the bar getting a drink, and I decided to buy one for her. That's often what cruise directors do. And so I said, hey, Nancy, how are you? And she goes, oh, Robert, this is such a wonderful cruise. I'm having the time of my life. And I said, Nancy, speaking of that, would you mind if I asked you a question? And she goes, no. Go ahead. Ask away. I'm an open book. And I said, how is it that you chose this cruise, which is dedicated to couples in love? Aren't you feeling kind of lonely? And she goes, oh, Robert, no, not at all. I knew what the theme of this cruise was. And quite frankly, even though I am single, I'm happy to be around couples who are in love. Actually, that makes me happiest because that's what I want one day. So rather than taking a singles cruise, she went on to say, and being subjected to all of that kind of energy, I thought I would take a cruise where, in terms of my status, I hope to be in a year or two, or hopefully less. And I said, that is so incredible, Nancy. I've never met a passenger like you before. Are you ever feeling like you are totally alone. In life, not on the cruise, obviously, but in life. And she goes, yeah, I do. But here's the thing, Robert. I've learned not to turn loneliness or being alone into a negative thing. I believe, Robert, that everything happens for a reason, and there's a reason why I'm single right now. So rather than bemoan my fate, why not enjoy this time and make the most of it? Don't we all need to make the most of the plate that we've been served on the table of life? I never forgot those words that she said. And I said, Nancy, you are amazing. I got a show to MC, but I want you to enjoy it to its fullest. And when I came out and welcomed the audience after the band played the overture, I said, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to dedicate this show to somebody by the name of Nancy, and she knows who she is. May she not only enjoy the show, the rest of this cruise, but the rest of her life too. She taught me a big lesson, because there have been times in my life, maybe like you too, where I have felt alone, but the worst parts of feeling alone. Betty White, when she was interviewed many years ago by Barbara Walters, responded to this question that Barbara asked her. Barbara said, so, Betty, you've lost your husband, Alan Ludden, for many years. How does it feel to be alone? And Betty said, you know what? I don't make a negative out of it. I have so many other things in my life that I enjoy. Alan was a love of my life, and I'm okay. Most of all, Barbara, I've learned the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. The difference between being alone and feeling lonely. She said, I don't feel lonely, and I'm good with being alone. Remember that. If you're feeling the negative aspect of being alone, find it within your heart of hearts to be okay with that for now. You can't do anything about it at the moment. So rather than choose to be negative in mindset about it, find things that you enjoy doing. Have a cool meal, go see a great movie, call friends. There's so many things that you can do to celebrate the fact that you are alone. Just be mindful of where your mind chatter goes when you start to feel lonely. Just like Betty White said, there is a difference. Be okay with where you are at this moment. Plan for wonderful things down the pike, that's for sure. But be okay with being here now. If you start to find stuff that's wrong with being here now, then there will be things that are wrong with being here now. Also, you are never alone. If you could see all the wonderful souls that are gathered to you each and every day, every night, you'd be amazed. You would stand back in awe. You have friends. You have family members. You have great things in your life. When and if there is somebody standing beside you to walk with you, great. Welcome it. But welcome yourself now and understand that being alone can be a gift and an incredible learning experience to walk with you. And if in time there's somebody to walk with you, by your side, great. Be okay with where you are now. There is nothing wrong with being alone. This has been Robert Landau, the podcast host for the 5-Minute Life Changer. Thank you so much for being with me. See, you weren't even alone during this podcast. I was with you. I'll see you on the next episode.